Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ascension Diaries YouTube channel. My name is Alexis, and this is another wonderful podcast episode brought to you by the universe and synchronicities. And this is a wonderful guest I have somehow manifested into my life. Her name is Tiffany FitzHenry, and she is a magical beast. And I'm going to allow her to introduce herself to you and what she does, and then we're going to get into some really cool topics.
Thank you. That was so sweet. Good introduction. I don't know how to even say after that. Basically, I'm an author, writer, screenwriter, Hollywood whistleblower. Some people know me from the Periscope that I made that, called out the things that go on there to sort of start to help cleanse that process. So I would say mostly people know me as a writer and person who is trying to lead the charge, I guess, to make Hollywood either change or be obsolete, being that, they'll have the choice, I think. But, to bring people into a new renaissance of art would be sort of my main goal.
I love that because I'm really glad that you are engaged with your artistic side and it really is a renaissance of art and it's so much grander than pointing fingers and being like, this is happening, which is a huge part of the way to transform it, which I don't know if you agree with that. It seems like you agree.
Yeah.
But I like that you mentioned that because the art is it's a huge artistic community and a lot of people who are very sensitive and passionate, and it's just has this sort of almost like a sickness throughout it. And I was curious why you labeled yourself as a Hollywood whistleblower and what you do with that sort of label to help.
Funny because before I decided, when Harvey Weinstein's story came out in October, I felt activated. I had just finished the third book in the trilogy, so that felt done. And I'd always been a screenwriter and had big projects in Hollywood that were very, very high level, at the highest levels, bidding wars between ABC and NBC as a creator of a TV show. So writing TV shows, writing movies. And I always honored my art and honored my gift in a way that did not translate. I knew what it was, and I knew that they didn't know what art was, that everything was a commodity. And also, there was a whole sense that the little content creator is this sort of unimportant thing. And there was this one moment where I had an epiphany, and it was like I'm sitting in this meeting, and it's literally very high-powered meeting at a network, and we're discussing a project of mine that I had written, the entire pilot, the entire series, and they wanted to it was a development meeting. And it was this sense that oh, you're the little content creator. So you just sit in the corner and try not to make too much noise. And you're really lucky to be in the room. And I just sort of sat back and I was like, this seems very coordinated. This whole idea that make sure she doesn't know how powerful she is. And I thought to myself in that moment, it was this epiphany. Probably nothing was ever the same for me after that moment. And it was if you could do what I can do, you wouldn't need me. You need me. And that's why you want to make sure I feel like you don't need me. It's this whole psyop, It's never let the horse know how powerful they are. And it's at that moment where I was just what? This whole place is just backwards spiritually. If you're talking about art and what that is, and we can get into that because that's probably my favorite thing to talk about because this is why I decided to blow the whistle on Hollywood, though, because of art and artists. I've been thinking lately that next to babies, art is the most tangible connection to the divine we have in this 3D reality. Mm-hmm. So a baby is born, and we're God, where did this human come from? And it's we don't know. We're so just amazed by it, and it's this being, and it's they're tangible and they're literally from stardust. And we're like, this is so incomprehensible. Art is like second only probably to children, in that we don't really know where these stories come from. We don't know why we're being told, and we put it out into the world as these artists. And that information, as humanity, like, that's our birthright. That information is our birthright, because we don't realize it, but that is what we use. We are guided by it. We look to art to guide us. We've done this since, people were drawing on caves. People know that, in their lizard brain or something, that it's an unbroken connection to the divine.
Yeah.
And so it's the best way to misdirect people. It's the most effective, most deceptive way to misdirect humanity, because we just blindly sort of absorb it. We don't even realize we're doing it. And so when art is so subverted, by forces like the Pentagon, and by people like Harvey Weinstein and people who are making it into commodity, you can just look around the world and see the effects that that's having. All you have to do is look at Netflix and look at, 13 Reasons Why, and look at how there's been a remarkable uptick in adolescent suicide since that show started.
What?
It's this year, when the second season of that show came out, our school system sent out a warning us not to let the kids watch it. I have a daughter that's going to be in 11th grade. I have never experienced something like that. And the show it's a horror. It's an absolute horror. It's absolutely creating what it's doing what it's, storytelling is that powerful.
Yes.
And so that's all of that, I would say, is my motivation for blowing the whistle, and, putting myself out there in a way to say, yeah, they wanted me to join their club, but to join their club, I had to compromise myself in a way that my influence that I would gain was going to be owned. And that's how this works. You don't get to be part of that club unless they can own your influence. You can't just have a platform like Jay-Z and have all that power. You don't get to own that power. Somebody owns that power. Someone tells him what to say. And I want people to understand that, and I saw so much confusion, I think. So those are the main reasons why I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell that stinking story about that guy, because it was a systematic thing that wasn't just that incident. It was every time I had a big project. It was a whole systematic thing between my reps, agents, managers to compromise me. They were like, it was like a full press assault. And I knew what they were doing to a degree. And then when it all kind of came out, I was like, now I understand it all. On a level that, I needed to share to help bring clarity, I think.
So just in a nutshell and in a brief synopsis of what that story was that you did share, and would you mind just giving us, for those people who haven't seen what you've created so far?
Sure. Yeah. So basically my Me Too story that I shared, I also want to clarify, it's super ordinary. It's not, this is not a special story. This is not an unusual thing.
Right.
And this is just what goes on. And this is how, I don't know if you follow Jaden Smith at all. He's the son of Will Smith, and he's really trying to stay outside the system.
Yeah.
They're letting him. I don't really know how that all works, but he calls it a prison pyramid. He literally refers to Hollywood and the whole entertainment machine as a prison pyramid. And it really is like a pyramid scheme, like a mob. And basically, when I had a script that this one producer wanted, he loved it, flew me out. We had this great meeting. And he said, I want to work with you. He wanted to hire me to rewrite. He wanted to hire me to rewrite 9 to 5, which you're probably too young to know what that is. But, Dolly Parton, 9 to 5, like that, working 9 to 5, that whole 80s thing, but for an urban audience, which is what they call in Hollywood, a Black audience. And they compartmentalize people in that way.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And yeah. So he basically said, I want you to rewrite this script. And I was like, I don't know, Bob, I'm not really feeling that. whatever. And he's like, no, I need to convince you. I really want to work with you. Because the script I had written that he loved so much, wanted to meet. Oh my God, I'm going to say this again. And I already said this, but it's so disparaging, basically for him, is that it was too intelligent for Black audiences. Like my two main characters happen to be Black. Everybody in the movie was different, looked differently. It wasn't like a complete all Black cast, which is, they don't do that. They do movies for Black people and movies for not Black people. I mean, they just will sprinkle a few,
Wow.
And it's actually very, very systematic, and it's done to compartmentalize people and to divide people and to make
And the audience.
so that they can in the consciousness, so that they can say, well, we define your experience, and if you're a Black person, your experience is this, and we're reflecting back at you what we want you to, we're projecting onto you what we want you to manifest, which is what's being manifest.
Like through the art. So it was like, this is sort of your artistic expression. And so you aren't part of this community if you aren't expressing like this in your artistic meaning.
Defining people for that, which people think, oh yeah, I'm just going to go see Barbershop, and I'm going to go see Soul Food, and I'm going to go see Big Mama's House. And they don't realize they're being programmed.
Right.
To emulate that experience, living in, sort of a inner city, and it's all just to define people so that they don't feel the power to define themselves. Systematic too, and I want people to understand that. But so this producer, he wanted me to write this other story. He's like, I've got to meet you tonight, and I'm like, I have another meeting, and this is a very powerful guy, and I'm like blowing him off. So he's probably like, whatever what the psychology behind that is, but fine, I have another meeting. You can come, crush that meeting. It's just, it's me and another writer, and whatever. He's from Chicago. You're from Chicago. I'm going to be great. We're having drinks at my bar, or my hotel lobby bar. And, which is very, very normal, obviously, in business and in Hollywood.
Right.
So after this other writer left, the whole energy shifted. It was like the whole energy shifted. And he just sort of sat forward and said, you know what I really want to do? And I was like, oh God, here it comes. And he said, I want to go to your hotel room, and I want to sit in the corner, and I want to jerk off while you watch me. And I was like, did not see that coming. And also, there is no universe in which that happens. Like, that's not, like, it was literally
a no thank you.
Yeah. And it was not taken well, I will tell you that. And it was not taken well. And it was not accepted as an answer. So it went on and on for 20 minutes or so. And, there became a point where I was looking around to kind of see, like, okay, that bartender looks nice, and he looks strong. And, like, I just was starting to feel,
threatened.
Threatened, like, okay, looking at my options, my escape options, because it's like, I don't know what this guy's really capable of. Did he put something in my drink? Like, I'm just starting to think, who knows? So, but what that is, and why I told that story, is a whole systematic thing that goes on in Hollywood. It's like, why can they just destroy a celebrity the minute they want to?
Yeah.
Because they have so much dirt on everybody that everybody is owned. Everybody's an owned asset. That's how intelligence works. I mean, you don't get to be in the CIA, if you're not compromised, basically, if they can't, flip you, turn you, tell you what to do. I mean, so to be honest, it was just to enlighten people to the way that it works, more even so than the sort of Me Too thing. Because look, I'm a big girl. It was disgusting. I've never been spoken to like that before, ever.
Right.
But at the same time, look, it's like people say gross things,
yes.
In light of it, but
they should be able to ask you whatever they like, and you're allowed to respond however you like, and that should be the end of it.
Right. But the issue really is that these people are the gatekeepers.
Yes.
For me to get my art to you, they are these gatekeepers, and that's not their right. Because that's divine, and you're supposed to, it's your birthright to get the information that artists are giving all of us, and so Hollywood's got to go. Like, it's just got to go. I mean, it's definitely going to. It's really, people are just disgusted on every level, as they should be.
Well, that was definitely something I wanted to get your opinion on was obviously you're watching this from a perspective that allows you to see a lot more than the majority of people. And I was curious what the observations you've seen even in the last couple months and what you project is going to be happening to this whole industry and what changes you think are good that are being implemented.
None.
Okay.
No good changes are being implemented. In fact, it's a whole doubling down that's going on. So it's
Oh,
multifaceted. So you see people like Susan Rice and Barack Obama now going to Netflix and brazenly and openly creating content. These people are not, you know, they're politicians. They have an agenda. So
yeah.
art is not supposed to have an agenda, first of all. Second of all, the alliance between content and government and mind control, the whole, we get into a whole area that they used to hide. They've always done it, but it used to be more hidden. And now it's like, it's basically such a doubling down. It's like just so brazen to think, okay, yeah, me and Michelle are going to go get a deal at Netflix. We're going to create content for you. It's like, you definitely have a specific agenda, being that you're a Washington politician, and what people don't understand is what that really is. And that's just open mind control. People so mind controlled that they don't even know that they're witnessing open mind control, disguised as entertainment, disguised as art. So it's all just getting worse. They're just doubling down. So what I see happening, so look at like the MTV Movie Awards last night or the night before. The lowest ratings only surpassed, only second only to last year.
Right.
They're having this little just grotesque satanic party and thinking that the whole world wants to come, and we're all kind of like, pass, hard pass, and they kind of don't even realize it. And it's kind of spectacular to watch them not, it's indicative of the fact that nobody there is really tapped in, because they're not reading dailies, and they are not reading anything. They're just in their own illusion. It's becoming like preposterous looking.
Right.
So I think it's just going to get worse. I think they're going to continue to try to tell people who to vote for. They're going to continue to try to, in much, much darker things that go on there too, because that's the way the town works.
And so with this illusion and this sort of, this play that they're continuing to participate in, have you noticed any specific people that have left that and you've noticed recently, and you have your eyes on seeing what they're going to be up to?
Mostly people, what I think kind of know, I've either noticed people laying low and trying to skirt the consequences of all this, because look, this stuff's coming out.
Yep.
There's been a lot of abuse. There's been really ritual abuse. There's been nothing but abuse and exploitation. And everybody who's in it is made. And so they all have a lot to lose. Everybody has secrets that they allowed to be created around them so that they could have access to being the movie star, the go-to director, the one who got, their show got made. And, it's, so I don't see, and I see people really just out there doubling down and, people like Rob Reiner. I'm like, I know things about Rob Reiner that could just, and it's amazing to me to watch these people be so brazen when we've shifted into a whole new time of truth and they don't realize it. I'm like, y'all, we're in the age of Aquarius, and you do not understand that everything's going to be revealed. It's all going to be revealed. And you and I know that.
Mm-hmm.
You feel it, you know it. And it amazes me. I think that I can only assume that they're being forced to go out front. Like Lindsay Lohan, don't do Me Too, it makes you look weak. I'm like, who's making you say that, Lindsay? Who is literally like cattle prodding you? And these people, I can only assume they're either really, really mind controlled, or people are forcing them to come out front and say what they're, having to say. And nobody seems to be taking the cues from the universe, like, at all. Like, nobody that I can see, honestly. Mind-boggling.
Well, I'm glad that I get to speak with somebody who is in line with the cues of the universe and what's going on. And I'm just curious, like, with your perspectives and everything, what you have been noticing and what you think is going to be shifting.
I think right now, like today specifically, it's time to talk about religion. Like,
Okay.
I've been like echoes in my head, like, it's time to talk about religion. It's time to talk about religion. Like, do you ever get that where you hear?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, I just was hearing, it's time to rush the door. It's time to rush the door. It's time to rush. Like, it's time for everybody, all the victims, all the people who've been exploited, all of the darkness. It's time. If everybody just rushes the door at once, they can't stop it.
Right.
And now I think we're in a moment that it's really time for the whole, Christianity, the psyop part of Christianity, to reconcile with the Christ consciousness part of Christianity, and to reconcile with all the secrets and the missing gospels and what Jesus was really trying to say and what they say he was trying to say. And I think it's just time for the Christians of the world to reckon. I think this is going to be really hard because there's so much dogma and indoctrination about original sin, things like that. That's got to go. They got to understand that was a psyop. Original sin was a psyop. Like, sorry, it just isn't. I don't know how you can go sit in a church pew this past Sunday after all this abuse stuff has just come out.
Yeah.
And look up there at a priest as if that's your moral authority and think that you have to go through him to get to God. Like, I don't know how that cord is not just breaking for people right now.
Well, I'm sure it's definitely having a major impact, and it's breaking for a lot of people, because this has been a kind of a fight. I've been noticing they've been putting and like chiding the Roman Catholic Church, especially, being like, you guys are, a bunch of criminal pedophile, like, ring craziness and liars. And I've been noticing that the last, I don't know, 10 years for sure is getting really intense. But to have it in all of the news, and I've noticed it cycled through this last week, basically being like, the Catholic Church is going through this whole thing. And I believe in the Christians, and that I believe in the Christ consciousness and the love, like the true meaning of being heart-centered. Yeah. And that is definitely, made its way through that religion for the most part to a lot of people. And I feel like that there's been a shift in that collective. So, but it's those who are very pragmatic and very to the system and things like that. I feel like it must be constant, just like people's whole paradigm being shifted and being like, oh my God, I don't need this idol in my life, because they could have been touching kids, and, in this whole system that is allowing that. And the amount of shifting and pain has just been so interesting. And I'm curious how and what's next. Like, it's like we're just going through these cycles. And it's like the Hollywood, religion, whatever is the next.
Government. Well, I think, starting with swamp and realizing that all our politicians, this is how it started, right? In 2016, it was like, all your politicians are puppets. They're all owned. There is no Republican Democrat. That's totally a psyop. Like, and we're all just kind of like, trying to keep up with this, like, okay. And it's like, now it's like, if you're paying attention at all, you realize, yeah, there absolutely is a deep state. Mm-hmm. We were told that was a conspiracy theory. No, if you're paying attention at all, you realize basically we're going through, like you said, government, and now religion. And what was the other one you said? Government, religion.
Oh, and I put Hollywood in there too.
Hollywood, Hollywood,
the art community.
Right. And just kind of going, none of this is real. It's not what you think it is. So, like the Matrix, it really is like the Matrix. It's like ones and zeros falling down all around us. We're like, oh no, this world we thought was real is not real. Everything is one thing I saw, people were like, Tom Hanks, and people are talking about what goes on, and they just are sick, and they think, first of all, they're sick about, but then they're like, I can't watch, there's no movies, there's nothing, we need all new movies, we need all new movies, we need all new stuff, because everything, this is why we can't have nice stuff, because everyone's like a pedophile, everybody's a sick satanic pedophile, this is why we can't have nice stuff, and we need all new stuff, because everybody thought it was one thing. You have your movie collection, and it's all, you flip through your Netflix and you're like, can't watch that, can't watch that, can't watch that. Oh, he's a pedophile. Frick. People are just like, it's the Matrix. It's ones and zeros. Mm-hmm. Nothing's real. And the church, so that's a big one for people.
Is it, you notice, or would you fair to say that basically what is going to need to happen and is happening is that we're seeing what happened and what systems were in place and being like, we're going to make something new. We're going to take all these lessons and we're going to not forget about it. And we're going to pursue a path of a more aligned, unified, loving sort of expression. Yeah. So,
yes, in an ideal inception of how all this goes down.
Right.
I see these people emerging, like people stepping forward, like myself, and and then in all these different areas, and people saying it's going to be okay. There's a vision, there's a path forward. We need, we're hardwired to be spiritual beings. So,
yep.
That's why religion was weaponized against us. I mean, it's perfect. If you want to control people, it's like, power to them for thinking of all these crafty ideas to really, I think humans are so dynamic in that we're these, these engines of life and these like creative manifestors. And if you want to trick us into not knowing that, that's a tall order. So, but I think also we're so complex that, we can buy into things. We can go into our ego and our imagination. And so you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like our complexity is our problem and our solution, so we have to remember we're not these broken little things. We don't need saving, we don't need saving from Donald Trump. We don't need saving from anybody. And that's that I am energy that like I see starting to be present where I didn't see it so much anymore, and not anymore, previous to like maybe the last couple months.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it really like rise up.
Well, that's good to hear.
I think I'm seeing it like bubbling, along the surface in a new way.
People stepping into their own empowerment. And a lot of it too is about if these artists and stuff want to continue, which a lot of them will, because people love their art. And it's a lot about that forgiveness and being authentic and totally the full disclosure of themselves and what they've done and what they've learned and what they're doing to right those things. And that's if art is going to continue flowing and they want to go with it, because it's going to continue no matter what. Right. There is a huge shift that a lot of these people are going to have to go through, and it's going to be a huge public awakening. And it's happening. At least that's what I'm seeing.
I would like to see more of those.
Yeah.
It's like this sort of appeal to Lindsay Lohan, and it just my heart really breaks for these child actors. And
yes,
I don't know what they've been through. We can only speculate. I was looking this morning, like trying to figure out how many child actors died, before 30, and you can't even imagine. I mean, you can't even, and we forget. I mean, like one of the little kids that was on that Raymond show, whatever that, All About Raymond or whatever that show was. So many that you just forget. It's like, wow, oh, Brad Renfro. Oh yeah, I forgot, about him. And it's just kind of what we don't really know what they've been through. But I think people are in a place where they are really ready to listen and ready to say, come into the light. And I think people are just so starved for the truth that they're going to have a lot of mercy, because a lot of these people who are abused become abusers.
Yeah.
I think that people are so starved for the truth that they're going to be surprised that there's going to be a lot of mercy on them from the general, population.
I agree. And I think that's one of the beautiful parts of this whole like grand shift that we're going through that is showing up, but I'm surprised it's not being spoken about more. But when all of this was starting to really get loud, I was seeing so much vehement, like very aggressive, hateful, dark energy being pushed to these people who are, being exposed for this and that. And I understand because a lot of people have a lot of empathy and pain, and they realize how much pain they may or may not have been involved with. But the huge thing I kept getting visions of when I was meditating was I had this vision where basically there was roses set out in front of all of these photographs of people, and a big bouquet of roses being handed from Trump to like Barack and Michelle, and being like, the biggest thing that needs to happen now is this overwhelming compassion, and which is so crazy because that's not exactly the first thing that a lot of people go to. They go to a lot of, obviously they're going to be triggered by it, but it's crazy to watch how now what the real solution is this compassion, and how that's going to take so much growth and maturity in the whole planet to basically reach to. So we're being forced, like these actors have been sort of an object that are forcing us to create this shift in our behavior and how we project our energy to each other. And it's crazy to me to see it all. And I'm like, it's the amount of compassion I think that you're saying that we're going to be seeing happening is going to be surprising.
This is so crazy that you're saying this, because I know, like, we're just so aligned. Like, we're tapping into the same vein of the, Akashic record or something. We're plugging into
Yeah.
the same spot, because the night that the Harvey Weinstein story came out was my birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, and it just felt like this sort of I guess watershed moment for me, where I was like, oh yeah, this all happens. Oh yeah, like, right, okay, this is the apocalypse basically. And yeah, I chose to be here, and we all did, and this all happens. That's right. And it was like it was burned into sort of my soul, but I had just sort of really seen it again for the first time in almost 40 years. So the first thing I saw, so an hour or so after this happened, the story came out, and I'm just sort of like electric from it, like just going, oh my God, there's all this truth. I get like electric, like with WikiLeaks and things that come out that are the truth. I just get this like vibe or vibration. And like an hour or two later, I remember I'm making dinner, and I said to my husband, I said, you know what? I feel so sad for Hillary Clinton, and I feel so sad for people like Harvey Weinstein and people like Bill Clinton. And he's like, you're going to have to take me through this. And I was like, well, basically they were given the height of what this humanity had become, at the height of the darkness on this planet. They were given the height of power.
Like the top of the prison pyramid almost.
Yeah. And so it was, it's, fate or karma or whatever it is, she always has the last laugh, but it's like, I don't think it's really, it's this whole, I almost immediately felt compassion for them, because they were put into this incarnation at this exact moment, given the absolute height of power at the absolute most dark and sadistic moment in human history. And I'm like, what would any of us have done? Like, and so you can judge them all you want, but at the same time, if people are going to coronate you and crown you and throw roses wherever you go and make you the president and, give you power over all of Hollywood and make you the mob boss, what are you going to do? So I think that compassion, once you understand what this incarnation more or less is, that compassion is almost like a natural, because it's like, wow,
That's what you chose to do.
and it is all choice and free choice, and these people are, but at the same time, you got to almost feel like, well, look, I'm really glad I wasn't chosen to live that incarnation.
Yeah.
And given the height of power, when you had to do all these things to have the power, and it's just a way to look at it, I guess. But like kind of what you were saying. But the crazy thing is, and this is the craziest thing of all, is that my next project is, oh my God, my next project is telling basically their story. So I have this guy named Sam Sutton, who is, I'll pull up a picture. Well, you probably won't be able to see it on here, but he was the head valet for Bush, Clinton, and Obama. And the head valet, if you know anything about the way the White House works, this is the person who is, closest to the president 24 hours a day. It's the person who, tucks them in bed at night, wakes them up in the morning. So the things that he knows, I can't even begin to tell you. I have, classified things in my house. So it's this guy right here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this at all. Can you see that? The guy in the middle?
I see things. Yes.
Okay.
The tall gentleman.
Who's not a president.
Yeah, basically.
So the next book I'm writing is his life story. And I struggled for about a year. So we've been talking for about 2 years.
What?
Because we've been talking for 2 years. He found me in the most bizarre way, and I was still writing my trilogy. And so we just started talking. I was like, okay, I'll tell your story, and I'm going to publish it, which is, crazy.
Yes.
We're doing it together. We're going to be partners, because that's the new paradigm. I'm like, I don't own you. You don't, this is all a whole even energy exchange. And, but I was struggling for the longest time because the story is very humanizing.
Yes.
And I'm like, people are not ready to see these people as humans. But I believe it's also just very real. And it's also so these people, they've never really wanted to be humans. They've never wanted to be one of us. They wanted to be the aristocrats and the elites. So just the fact that it is humanizing is kind of like a downgrade for them anyway, because it's very human in every sense of the word. And I feel like what you said, I feel like this story is actually part of that energy, bizarrely, that this has come to me, and I'm the one telling it. And I've been struggling for a while to think, when are people going to be ready? And I just kept telling Sam, people are not ready. People are not ready. People are not ready. And now I'm like, people are going to be starting to get ready. And it's very, not scandalous, because it's not a tell-all. It's really very much kind of like a Forrest Gump in a way. Like, he just sort of happenstances through this life in a way that's really amazing.
Of course.
Yeah, it's just the most amazing story. And they just happen to be in it, and all the things that he goes through and does, you're just kind of like, did that really happen? Did that really, okay, all right, that really, oh my God. And I think it's just going to come just at the right time, when it, will heal some of these things.
Like when the book is finally all finalized and everything, that'll just be like, of course, it's going to be like divine time when the world is ready.
I think so. Which, it's a lot to just sort of be like, okay, I'm just going to let that one be. That's a miracle. Fine. Chalk it up to another miracle. Because you can't explain it, at all.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's a great perspective to bring, being like, this person happenstanced his way through these particular life experiences, just like any old person could possibly stumble upon it. And this is the human, experience that he had. And this involved other humans that are not even seen or has been portrayed this true, authentic way, because it's just so nice. It's nice for me to hear that you're doing such a project and that this is coming, because that's a big deal, as people are struggling to idolize one another and see them as more or less than themselves, but that's the grandest illusion of it all.
It's so true. It's so true. And that's how we get into I am consciousness, is when we stop worshiping
Mm.
idols and heroes, and everybody becomes humanized, and being a regular human is seen as a miraculous thing. We're all miracles, you know.
And like life hands you miracles all day long.
Right.
I
And
like
yeah, it's just a matter of not thinking anybody's more special. It's not like, God loves Nicki Minaj more than me. I don't think so. I don't think so. Sorry, Nicki. It's just, it doesn't work that way.
I'm just so curious too, and I think this is a great way to just kind of bring it in to the end. And I can feel the buzzing question is basically, how is it that you in particular have come to this understanding about consciousness and, the love and the heart and the unity of it all? What was your biggest catalyst for that?
I would say the total destruction of everything that I thought I was.
Nice.
Yeah. So grew up, you know, always very connected to writing, and that was always in who I was. But everything other than that was crushed away, I would say, as I got older. You know, just sort of my personal journey, thinking that I came from the perfect family, and that all just exploded on a level that was so much pain. There was actually so much pain in my family, and I lost my mom a year and a half ago. And it was the culmination of that whole process of destruction of everything I thought I was and who I thought I was. So then I became nothing and everything, and really indestructible in a way. I was like, well, you can't destroy what doesn't even exist. So here I am, so like, I don't really even, if that is who I thought I was, and that was what I thought my existence was, that whole person was just systematically erased through the destruction of that entire thought form. And it's like, oh, well, then I can just be nothing and everything, and start, it's sort of started from there to go, you can be fearless. You can just try things and create and do and mess up, and who cares? And who cares? This is all just some fun play that we're doing. And, became so fearless after sort of losing everything I thought that I was, and turned around and said, I actually have everything. I have this beautiful family, this amazing husband. And even those things aren't who I am.
Right.
I've created a great marriage, and, with my husband, and we've raised two great kids. They're not ours. They don't belong. None of this, it's like when you become unattached, that's really the key. When you say, whether my kids go to college, whether I brag about them on Facebook because they're the homecoming queen, or whether they don't go to college, none of that is mine.
Yes.
And that's the freedom. That's complete freedom, and just opens you up from there, I think, when you become unattached.
And
unattached, lovingly unattached, I would say.
Lovingly unattached. Yes, that's a good point. Being like, I love you and enjoy your time.
Yeah. Not because people think of, detachment as sort of apathy.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's the most loving thing of all, to be like, you go be, and just whatever that looks like, I'm not attached to it. It's the most loving thing I think you can do. Just love whatever anybody wants to create, and not be attached to what you see that they should do or become, or what it all should look like. But I think from writing, when you write, if you're really just being pure, you're not in it.
Yeah.
So that's been a training my whole life of, I go away, and those people take over, the story takes over, those, the story that wants to be told takes over. And so it was just a matter of time, I think, before I completely dissolved into oblivion, in terms of, on a spiritual level,
Fair enough. And your understanding of how, everyone can be their own artist. Like artists, you can't judge art.
It is.
It's just like, yep, there's art and there's art over there, and good job on your art and have a good time with all of that. You did some cool stuff. Very interesting.
Yeah, I know. I think Reinhardt said, art is art. Everything else is everything else. Like basically that's the only way you can art is art. Everything else is everything else. If the Pentagon paid for the movie, it's not art. It's something else.
It is a device.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
This is such a fun conversation. This is the best conversation ever because it's like all my favorite things to talk about.
Well, I'm glad we had it, and I think this is definitely a good pace and place to wrap up our podcast episode for today. And it was really a pleasure to have you, and I'm really glad that we got to chat and have gotten to meet you. I'd be so down to just chill with you anytime.
Let's do it. For real.
But yeah, we'll finish it up, and then you and I can maybe keep chatting a bit. But I want to thank everyone here for watching and joining us in this conversation. And if you want to follow along with Tiffany's art and her work, I found her on Twitter. Was there anywhere else that you'd like to send people?
Probably Twitter at Tiff FitzHenry, at Tiff_FitzHenry. And my blog, just at my website, tiffanyfitzhenry.com, is, I would say, one of the best places to subscribe and, follow me there, or on YouTube. Those three places generally is where I'll put content out, because most of my time is spent writing new things and other projects. And so if I'm going to write a blog, it goes on my website. And a lot of times I'll just, the spirit will move me and I'll be like, we need to talk about religion. And then that'll go on my blog. So those things are good places to subscribe. Yeah.
Awesome. And I will put those links in the description below this video for all of you. If you want easier access to those gateways, I will be gladly putting those there. And yeah, again, thank you so much for joining me on this. And I think everyone's going to like it a lot.
Good. Hopefully we weren't too but
well, was there any final notes you wanted to give, of maybe from your own spiritual perspective or whatever, your last moment?
Yeah, I would say to anybody who's kind of going, I feel all this happening and I see all this happening and I kind of don't know what to do. I think that what is going to help everything so much is everyone needs to do what they want to do now. And I've been getting that message, it's time. And that's how we create the new earth. That's how we create the abundance, is if you have in your heart to be a baker, but you're selling used cars, it's time to go be a baker, because that's going to be the gift you give to the world. And that's going to be what's supposed to create this abundance if we all do it. So my parting thing would say, it's time to do what you want to do. Everybody, just live in their most genuine incarnation of what they, forget about the money, forget about it all, come do what you want to do. Everyone gets to do what they want to do now. Yay.
I agree with that. I think that's excellent.
Yeah.
And that's a great place to wrap it up. So thank you all very much for being here and joining us. Go out there and really do what you want to do, because if you die tomorrow, you're going to be like, dang, I should have did that.
Yeah, I definitely should have done that. Yeah, exactly. It's time.
It's time, everybody. Well, that's going to be all from us. We love you all very much. And if you have any comments or questions, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. And until next time, goodbye, everybody.